Ever since I was a young and I was into rapping 20 years later and I'm still here yapping. Guess I got so much to say, so I'm trying to educate all of us. I hope together we can elevate. Time flies and our life is moving so fast. What's the forecast? Good vibes to be broadcast. So come and chill with me as we let the bad vibes blow past. This is Shout Out Podcast.
Chalo, are you good to go? Yeah. We're live, okay? Welcome to the first episode of the Shout Out Podcast. I'm your host, Asalie, and I'm very excited to be doing this project. Since this is the first episode, I wanted to sort of break it down for you, the audience, just to let you know what we're all about, what the show is all about. Well, the Shout Out Podcast, what we're going to be doing is giving this platform to Nagas from all walks of life. We'll be inviting different guests every weekend, and we'll be hosting them, talking with them, having a deep conversation about their personal life, about issues, many things, and just basically promoting one another. That is one of the goals of Shout Out Podcast. We want to be promoting Nagas. We want to be uplifting one another. Another thing is just this whole thing about positive energy. I feel is sort of the need right now amongst our society and community. We need to be, giving off more good energy to one another. I think that's just going to bring out the best in all of us. You'll hear that a lot throughout the episodes. And the show will be sort of broken down into two segments. The first part, I'll be, just talking with the guest about their personal life. And the second part, we'll get into topics and issues that relate to Nagas in general. And I hope the audience can relate to, our point of views, the guest point of view, my point of view. And the kind of topics that we talk about with our friends and families in our kitchens or when we're just chilling with each other. We're trying to bring that to the forefront and just let you hear a fellow Naga's opinion on certain topics that we all talk about. I guess that's about it, about what the Shout Out Podcast is going to be about. And with that being said, and without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first guest for the first episode. Not going to tell you much about him. I'm going to let him do that on his own. There's plenty of time for that. But just want to say that he's a well-established musician, a thorough professional. Very fortunate that he's my cousin brother. So that was easy for me to get him on this show. And I'm happy he's here. Welcome, Nise. Thank you so much again for joining.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, just basically want to start with, what have you been up to during this whole, the past few weeks or the past few months?
Mm-hmm. Given a choice, I would want to be jobless actually, because I think it's so important to have that space sometimes,
Right.
because I think if your mind is cluttered and you have so many things going on, you are not at your best creative wise.
True.
But anyway, I am also glad that I'm able to get back to teaching. And when I say teaching, it's online teaching,
Right.
Like last year, it was so difficult to get students to come on board for online teaching because they were apprehensive. And on the other hand, they were like hopeful that things would get back to normal.
Yeah, true.
But of course, that is not going to happen anytime soon. But I hope it happens.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of students and I'm preparing them for exams. So that's keeping me busy.
Okay.
And I do have some songwriting projects. And of course, once in a week, I have to get out of home, right? So either I come visit you or I go elsewhere.
Right.
So
I mean, you're one of the fortunate few. I think that's that's had the chance to earn also through the pandemic and this whole situation of all the lockdowns that's been happening. Because many, I guess many people who are also struggling through this period. And I'm happy for you that you've been having this opportunity to earn. Should also treat me sometimes.
Yes, for sure. And can I on that note, that earning note,
Right.
let me also say this. And this is exactly why I urge people to take up training, like the musicians especially,
Right.
because now if you are a certified musician, this is a time for you to just sit in the comfort of your home and earn, right?
Yes.
But just because you are a great singer or you have released like 10 videos on YouTube doesn't mean like people are going to come after you. At the end of the day, if I have a son or a daughter, I would want him to be treated by the best doctor.
Obviously.
So on that note, I think this is a time where I can emphasize really on music training again.
And your background on
Yeah.
it.
So because I can see my students like flourishing like anything. Just by sitting at home, they're earning. So money is flying everywhere.
True,
It's
true.
for you to just grab it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So.
Yeah, I'm trying also.
No, this is a good start. Yeah, this is a good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a startup for you. Come on, you are like into producing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, this is a new field for me also, and yeah. But enough of me. Something I'd like to ask you is like, what's been your biggest takeaway from this entire pandemic? Seems like it's like almost 2 years now since it's happened, but what's something that you've learned or realized a lot with this whole situation?
I have come across a quote which has touched me so much, and I have shared this in some interviews also. And oh, by the way, I was featured in the Teenager magazine. It's been years I haven't been a teenager. So there also I mentioned the same quote. So
Okay.
this quote reads, "The opposite of war is not peace; it is creation." And in a way, we are going through a form of war, like this pandemic.
Of course.
Like hatred can be war, depression can be war, jealousy can be war.
True.
You see, so in a way, that is also a form of war. So the opposite of war is not peace, but it is creation. That means we should be able to create something beautiful out of nothingness. And that has struck me. And that is the reason why I've been able to take up projects. Like last year, I released the first ever Naga virtual choir with a group of
Right, I saw.
trained musicians. Let me just make that that category very clear. They are all trained from different universities outside the country.
Right, right.
And this year, just about a month back, I've been able to release another collaborative work with some young artists.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
one.
these things are all, I think, a result of me being touched by that quote. So yeah, you never
interesting.
know how an artist can be driven. It could be a situation, a quote, a song. Yeah.
So yeah, you did find a lot of motivation then, maybe during this period of time, right? I think that's important, motivation and finding inspiration, and like you said, in a quote or in a movie that you watch or anything, just like looking for inspiration. In all
And
these
before
places.
I forget, sorry,
Yeah, sure.
like before I forget, I've also heard a lot of people, like talk about I was supposed to travel, I was supposed to do this concert. I mean,
Yes, yes.
okay, fine. I have also like a lot of things to say on that note, but the point is, what can you do now? That is very important. So I also want to encourage people, and I remind myself that our art, our creativity lives within us, not around us. Just because you travel, you don't get to travel and see beautiful places, doesn't mean you cannot create.
Of course.
So I want to remind people that it lives within us. So
I think you know what. Now that you mentioned that, I mean that's something I believe in also. It's like I think the mindset is really important. Like I find myself also complaining about the same thing sometimes. This year we could have done this, or I should have been doing this. But that's fine also. But you can't just be doing complaining, right? You have to step up. What are you gonna do about it now?
And see, you have already
totally.
taken that step. You are doing this podcast now.
True,
you see.
true.
So yeah, so you are, and I mean, you have been able to overcome that. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you. So like go get your dreams, go after them. Be a go getter.
Right.
Right. So okay, I want to like take us all the way back. Like we said, like everyone knows now, we're like first cousins and we're very close.
Yes.
I know so many things about you, but I just want the whole audience to also get to know you more personally. And that's why I want to start like all the way back from your childhood. So like we were discussing, just tell us like how your childhood was in general, some interesting, funny stories, anything.
My childhood, I must say, if I have to encapsulate my childhood in one word, it should be interesting. And interesting can mean different things. So
Right.
yeah, I've had like a wonderful childhood when it comes to family, because I think family has always been supportive of my gift.
Definitely.
And I've been able to take up music classes when I was very young. And I've also been like very fortunate to have cousins like you and other cousins who took music classes. Of course, you all left it along the way, but some of us we continue. So it was always nice to have music like ringing around the house. And if I have to talk about my paternal side of the family, my grandmother and then my great grandmother, they learned how to play the piano from the American missionaries.
Right.
So that started to flow in and through us as well. So that part was very interesting. And when it comes to other, say, environment outside the home, it has been challenging in a way because I wasn't a typical Naga boy again, who would play football or cricket or go for camping, hunting. So I could find comfort and solace in playing the piano. So in a way, I associate piano as my best friend. The place where I can go running to when I am in need of comfort and when I need a secret hiding place also. Because once again, I wasn't the typical Naga boy growing up, and a lot of people were not even Naga boys were not even playing the piano that time.
True,
They would be playing the drums or the guitar. So
yeah.
piano was considered like a
Very feminine, yes.
instrument, But I don't think it is even right for now to be calling somebody a male violinist or a
Yes,
female
yes.
pianist. I think music has no gender, or for that matter, no caste or creed, and no race for that matter. So it has been challenging, but I think that made me very fearless. So now I am myself because I've been able to embrace my shortcomings, and all the sort of negative connotations that I would hear people whisper, not tell me directly, but maybe tell my parents or tell my cousins or my friends. Those things actually made me a stronger person.
Like who you are today,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
But I just want to touch on that a little bit because we talked about this before also, but like how back in school, I remember like we weren't in the same school, but I remember all the stories about how you were so good in sports. You used to be
I
the
thought
fastest runner.
I was trying to keep that.
No, but
topic as
I want to just touch on this because you used to win like 100 meters, long jump, all that, right? And I remember you telling me like how excited your dad was because like
he thought I would be a sportsman.
Exactly, because you had the
right
quality at least at that time to win all the races, So just I want you to just touch on that a little bit,
it's as simple as me not wanting that sporty label.
I know.
I always wanted to be considered a creative person who's artistic, who is very fluid, when it comes to my emotions, the way I think. I want to be very fluid that way. I don't want to be like confined to
one dimension.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I would never want to be a square in my life. I would love to be like an amoeba where I can just take any shape that I want to according to the situation or depending on my mood.
Right.
So yes, I didn't want that label. Otherwise, I think even now I'm back to like working out, right?
Yeah.
So I feel that I can work out a lot, but I don't think I would want that label.
Just one thing I want to ask you about, like, growing up, because you grew up in Dimapur, we all grew up in Dimapur. So, like, what is like some of the big differences besides, the development and all? What are the big differences you've seen in Dimapur during our childhood days and your childhood days and, Dimapur now?
Clean air for sure.
Yeah.
I want to come from that perspective.
Right.
Yeah, I think we miss the clean air, the simplicity of life, and how people were so tightly like bonded. Everyone knew everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's,
yeah.
Like the church that we go to, Tan Baptist Church. That's the first church in Dimapur.
Right.
And I mean, I won't say sadly, but maybe people saw that the church was growing, and they felt the need to branch out into their own tribal church. So yeah, I miss that connection, and maybe those are some of the differences that I see. And even people, like for us, we're not really so. Forget about being fascinated. We didn't even have a choice of technology,
Right.
So we were like we had a very simple, pure childhood, and I think that is the reason why I think right now, if I see the younger generation, I feel sad for them that they are not able to enjoy life in the most simple, purest manner.
But I guess it's inevitable the way technology is growing, and like that's just going to be part of like how life is for them and even the future generations, right? But yeah, I think that point is very interesting about like how back then it was like everyone knew each other. It was like a family, right?
Yes.
Like even though you weren't related
Mm.
to some people, it was I miss those days too. It was
That's
like,
true.
mm,
Like for you, like just to throw a question at you, like for you, if you had a choice to raise your son,
mm.
like would you want him to be raised in our era or
Mm.
right now? I mean, if
Yeah, I mean, interesting question. I haven't thought about it like that, but a mix of both because
Mhm.
obviously, like how we're talking about the good old days back then and all, right? But nowadays, with like with the hope that I have for my son in whatever field he may grow up to, like pursue, the opportunities that we have nowadays is unparalleled to like what we had back in the
Exactly.
days, right? So like that ways I want him to maximize on whatever opportunities he has, but yeah, the environment and that whole experience that we had as family and all that, I think
Mhm.
those days.
And I think to add to you saying that you want a mixture, a balance of the old and new, and I think we can still have a lot of old in us still, be it family values, be it like respect for elders,
Right.
honesty. Those are now considered like old school. You don't really have to follow those
Like
stuff. You don't.
traditional.
You just call somebody by their name, and you go somewhere. You feel like that person doesn't really share the same thoughts as you, you start voicing your opinion, although they may be so much elder than you,
Right.
So yeah, we can. I think we can have that balance.
Yeah. Moving on, maybe like towards when you started growing up and uh, the later part of your schooling and when you were slowly getting into music. You started music at a very early age. I remember
Yes.
like playing the piano.
6 years.
Yeah, and even like performing. I mean, also performing. Also, you started performing very early, right? But like when it came to actual, because now I want to get into your career as like when you got into music. So when did the actual like education part come? The training, education. I know you went to like So I just want you to take us from the beginning of the technical part of the
Yes,
journey.
I was always interested in music. Yes, but I would go up to Patkai and would watch Dr. Vivi, my piano teacher, Mrs. Margaret, and all perform. And I would dream to be like that, to be on stage performing. But at the same time, I also wanted to be other things in life, like maybe I wanted to become a designer, maybe I wanted to become a choreographer, and along the way, even wanted to become a flight steward.
I remember.
I got
I
training and
remember.
all those stuff.
Yes.
But I think I realized that I am most myself when I do music, and that is what made me take up this decision without having any qualms about it.
Just to cut you off once quickly, when was this? Like, in what class were you in?
I
or
think
like which
I think when I failed almost all my subjects in class 10
around class
selection
10?
exams.
Okay.
Yeah, I failed in almost all the subjects.
It happens to the best of us. It's
but
okay.
but luckily I didn't lose a year because I could appear as a private candidate from government higher secondary school.
Okay.
I studied in Christian higher secondary
yes.
school. So I think that time I remember being inside my room and playing the piano, and that made me very happy. On the other hand, I failed in almost all the subjects, but the same time I was having a very good feeling when I was playing the piano. I think that made me realize that this is my calling. And this is when I would also want to introduce a word. I'm sure some of you know. There's this Latin word called vocatio. It means calling. Your calling in life. That's the origin of the word vocational. We think vocational is like piggery, carpentry, where it's like considered like a side hustle.
hobby.
But this is so important in life to know your calling. And I think that day when I got the news that I failed in my selection and then I started playing the piano, I think that was when I heard this vocatio. To light.
I think that perfectly answers like the question that I was going to ask you. Like, what was your moment of clarity? I mean, that's it, right?
Yes,
exactly. Then when you had failed, but then when you start playing the piano, you were in that space where you felt like nothing else matters. This is like it feels like home. I'm perfectly where I am supposed to be. So okay, that answers that question, which I think a lot of people want to know.
Yes, and because see, it's like this. Now people won't even bother if I like pass in first division during my metric or I pass in third division.
Right.
All that matters now is like what can I still offer to the world, to people. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Just in my defense.
Yeah. But I think no, I totally agree with you there on that. But no, because why I'm mentioning this moment of clarity thing is because I've seen a lot of musicians sort of force the career onto themselves.
Right.
You know, like I know musicians like you and some others also who have seriously found this as their calling, and then they pursue it, right? And
Yes.
some people sort of just
Right.
sort of force it.
Yes,
And
and
it's
interestingly,
quite rare.
to
Yeah.
add to that, sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off, but just to add to that, there are people who have been doing music for years, but they still don't have that clarity.
Right.
And when I say clarity means maybe they know that they want to be a musician, but clarity in their music, in the way they sing, in the way they want to be presented. So these are very important things. You should really be true to the seed that you sow. Then. Because for me, I knew that I'm a Western classical musician, so I am that tree. I cannot suddenly decide to become a coconut tree. You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always take this metaphor, but that is very important. Now people are trying to be relevant, and when we
So true.
run after that thing, you end up doing things where it's not going to bring out the best in you.
And not the real you, right?
Exactly.
And that translates
Right.
onto the screen or through your songs. You
yes.
can clearly hear it when it's not
Right,
you,
right.
you, right?
Exactly. And I
totally
always
believe in
say I would rather be relatable than to be relevant.
100%.
Because see, like when I talk about being relatable, let's take the example of hymns. Hymns were written like hundreds of years back, but people can still relate to the hymns. And there are some songs like that, even from the contemporary world.
Right.
So that is more important because come on, we've had like wonderful uh, artists who were like so relevant, and now we don't even remember them anymore.
I know. That's true. There's one thing I tell, like with my Infinity, the artists that who are with us, is about like being you, how important that is. I mean, it sounds so cliche, right? Like you have to be original, you have to be you, but it's that important, isn't it, for an artist to
Right.
like find the real you,
Yes.
and then like to figure that out and then be that, right? Because like how you said, trying to stay relevant, you just, and it shows people, it shows like, when we see the music videos or hear your songs, it clearly shows. So that's
Yes.
interesting.
Yes, I've also heard that advice given by maybe senior musicians to younger artists, like be yourself. But these young artists, they don't even know who they want to be.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
also true.
that is the question. So
Yeah.
they should do a lot of introspection and be able to embrace their limitations and accept their limitations, and then embrace the strengths that
Strengths
they
they
have.
have, exactly.
Like for me, I love R&B singing. I die for anybody who can do those vocal riffs and runs.
Yes.
But I cannot sing. I can train them. I would never perform.
I mean, you can sing, but
Yeah. But so for me,
Yeah.
I accept the fact that okay,
That's not
this
your
is-
strength.
and
Yeah.
I would never want to do something like that. Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah. Like you are now like, in my opinion, the most established musician in Nagaland for whatever reasons, various reasons. I mean, but when you look back up into your career, you're still active. I'm not saying you're retired, but like, when was the big break? Like the sort of like that you felt like I've arrived as a musician, or I can do it as a musician. I can earn a living as a musician. What was that one big break?
For me, this is a very vivid moment, and I have always been saying this over and over again because it is the one. Of course, after my studies in Patkai, after I finished my 12th, I went to Singapore to a music college, and after that I came back. And here and there, I wanted to become a fight steward, so I sort of wasted a year doing that. But then I got back to music, and I was in Delhi, and my parents were like not very happy with me that I drifted away from that music goal. So I had to fend myself. So I remember traveling from Delhi to Gurgaon. Like that's like Gurgaon is like an hour or
Yeah,
more.
40 minutes, an hour.
Travel. Away. And I really had a tough time. And then I remember I was invited to do a concert at the Kamani Auditorium. This was with some established musicians in Delhi. So I performed there, and our conductor was a Korean guy, Mr. Hu Chu Yong. And I performed. I remember I also sang and I played the piano also. And when I came on the second time, people started like applauding, and that was so encouraging. And that meant to me at that point that they really liked what I did at my first item. So to cut the story short, after the concert was done, uh, all these people that I would admire or I would see on television or magazines, from the pastry fraternity designers and socialites, they came backstage and they started looking for me and they were like, "Where is that Korean boy?" Because they thought I was Korean, and like people were saying, like, "Oh, those two Korean performers were amazing," like that. And I remember like getting so many visiting cards from these people. And that moment I told myself, okay, no more eating cup noodles for lunch. I still love cup noodles, but it's out of choice that I eat, right? But those days, cup noodles used to be my lunch, boiled egg and stuff like that. I said, like, now this is the beginning of a new chapter in my life. And from there, it was smooth sailing. Of course, here and there, I still have a lot of bumpy situations, but I think that moment, I realized that, this
Which year was this? Like
this was like 2003. Yeah.
But I was there in
2004.
Delhi also that time.
Yes,
Like
yes.
we were all in it
Kamani
together,
auditorium,
right?
yeah.
But that was when you were already teaching in like American Embassy School, or was that
No,
did that come after?
it came after that. Yes. So many good things followed.
Out of
after
that came like your
Yes.
teaching gig at
Right.
American Embassy School,
Yes.
your choir with
That is School of Music also. Then I was part of the Nimrana Music Foundation.
Yes, I remember that
We
one.
did
Yeah.
operas together. We traveled to Bombay and
Yes.
Sri Lanka. All those.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, I didn't realize at that time that your career was taking off. But yeah, I do remember like you suddenly were like everywhere and
Yes, and
even like to the point where like you said with the whether it's with the socialites.
right.
Yeah, I remember
That helped me because for me, I did not just restrict myself within the musician fraternity.
Right.
I even went and performed for like fashion shows. I even modeled for some designers also. And then I remember doing a lot of performances at Olive Bar and Kitchen whenever they would have Italian food festival, and so I was able to do a lot of good networking.
Okay.
Yeah, and that today the concerts that I get, the invitations that I get, or the friendships that I have are, I mean, they are all result of my effort, the time and effort that I put in during my Delhi days. The networking, the friendships that I cultivated.
I think like whenever I talk about like music or musicians and their careers and stuff like that with other people, I mean the go-to examples that I use are always you, Alobo, maybe the Tetsu sisters, and something I find in common between all of you guys is that besides the talent and the obvious, music talent thing, is because there's obviously hard work, but it's also a combination of so many things. Like you know how to network, that is so important. You know how to promote yourself, you know how to present yourself. It's like a culmination of so many things, right? And I sort of feel that's missing in today's artists, the youngsters, because like how nowadays we do have talent. There's no doubt Nagas are so talented in music, and we have with the emergence of social media, we have so many musicians. Some doing originals, some doing covers, some are just dabbling in it, some are full time, whatever. But we have so many of them right now, and they sort of forget so many things and like just focus on their talent, which I say is not enough nowadays to become successful. Like, what's your take on that? Your opinion?
Yes. The reason that there are so many Naga artists, but just the reason that just few Naga musicians are doing well in life is because of things like this. It is not just you and your voice or you and your playing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There are so many aspects. It's like a package. I mean, it's cliche. We have heard it so many times. But
it's true.
Example, like I go attend a concert and I see this young artist. I'm not asking them to bow down before me, but they would not even acknowledge our presence sometimes, Or for that matter, let me also cite this example. Sometimes I am doing like my own, like say, hunt for maybe scouting for new talent that I want to collaborate with. And I think something like that is going on right now with one TV channel also. They are scouting for talent, but I'm told there are hardly any
The response, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
applicants.
Entries and yes.
And even for me also it's like that. The same people, they are the ones who are like fighting for a spot, a place in this music world. But there are those who are just so complacent with the number of followers that they have, or maybe the likes that they have. But
It's like the ego is in play also, right?
and that's very important. Of course, like I'm also an social media user, but I don't really depend on it for my shows or for the kind of maybe awards or whatever will come my way. Just to give you an example, if I may, I hope this is okay to it's okay to mention.
Yeah, everything is good.
Yes, like see the Ambani show. Yeah, not show, the wedding. I was asked to perform there. If they were supposed to choose a singer or pianist, a musician, let's say, based on the number of followers or their popularity on social media, I shouldn't even be on their first list.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, music is a performing art. What can you do with your music, your art? Supposing I label myself, not I label, Yamaha labeled me as a Yamaha artist, I should look, act, talk, breathe, dress, think like one Yamaha artist, Here they are maybe wonderful, they're very sweet and cute in their music videos, but when you talk to them, they're hollow, they're empty, there's nothing to talk about, they are not even yearning to learn, that zeal is not there, so for me it's like I would rather just work with somebody with less talent, but somebody who is more willing.
Yeah, and like you said, I do see this, honestly, it is a little disappointing, but like we have to mention, there are plenty of people who are like seriously eager to learn, who are dedicated and committed, like young people also, right? And what's your sort of like, it's very cliche to ask this, but like, your advice to upcoming musicians?
Get yourself a mentor. I think that is very important because
that's a unique take.
Yeah, because for me, while I was growing up, of course, I had teachers to guide me. But when it comes to making a performing career, that was something new because all my teachers were like teaching. They were more into teaching than performing, right?
Yes.
But I learned it from the trial and error method. And nowadays, there are other artists like I'm there, Alobo is there, Tetsu sisters are there. People who have established themselves in this career. So get somebody like them to like guide you. And because maybe they would be like, my vocal coach is, I do Skype learning from somebody in the States, but they may not really know how it functions here, the music world. So get somebody who has tried and tested the water
experience.
Yes, and then I think that should give them a lot of evidence.
That's like a very unique perspective, or like I would say like an advice. That's something that I don't think I hear much when I ask just people, like what's your advice or what's your take? Not necessarily people in the music field, but just when I generally ask people, what do you think like young musicians have to do to make it? That's interesting.
Because the other thing is also like this. Yeah, music is subjective again, right? So if they are going around asking all their friends, what do you think of my music? Which cover song should I do? And then they are just going to go bonkers because they are not going to get anything focused.
Right.
But if there's maybe like a mentor, maybe they know their voice well, maybe if it's a singer or if it's a pianist, I know what kind of technique is most suitable, kind of genre, era. So that is something I really want to encourage youngsters to do, to have a mentor.
That's true. That's an interesting, I like that. I like that suggestion or advice. And when we're while we're at it, who are like some of your favorite local artists? I don't like using the term local artist, but just for the sake of you to mention only like Naga artists, some of your favorite ones right now.
I think I am very clear about the people that I like, and I am also very clear about the people I'm never going to work with.
Let's keep it on the people.
There are some artists that I really truly adore, not just because of the talents that they possess, but because of the heart that they carry. And I've been fortunate enough to have worked with them. So on that note, let me name name them. So Imlia Kumayer,
Yes.
Abdul Match, Toka Holi Chishi, Yuli Yeptomi, Nure Khate, Thangla Monguli, and Tejaser Khate. So these are some of the people I enjoy
Great,
working with. Of course, there are so many others, but when I talk about younger artists, I think they are.
I mean, I'm friends and fans of, I think like almost all of them. Also, yeah. So that's a very nice.
They are nice people. Like when you
genuinely good people.
When you meet them, you just want to keep filling their cup. You know, it's like that.
And I've noticed one sort of theme along the names that you mentioned. Besides, I think almost all of them. I guess I'd say I know personally. Is that they all have found their identity, so-called. You know,
exactly. They are
who
not,
they are.
Yes,
you know,
they are
so
not like groping in the dark anymore.
Yeah. So much talent actually. You know, Nagaland has like some that have been discovered, some that are just untapped. But we're blessed, right? Like with talent.
We are. And on that note, let me also like when you mentioned that they know who exactly they are as an artist. Let me say this also. Like, see, somebody like Abdan, he's also a songwriter.
Beautiful
like
songwriter.
Akam is also an amazing
Another
songwriter. But there are other people, say maybe like Yuli, who doesn't write songs as of now. I'm sure she will discover that
great performer,
that gift also. But she's so okay to sing songs composed by other people, maybe, or maybe to be. Now she's taking vocal classes from me as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they are always open to learning, and this is also the reason why I think Naga artists should just know their forte. Like if you can just sing well, stick to that.
Don't
ask somebody to write
a song for you. Exactly.
Song for you. Like we see that even in the other, I mean,
of
world.
Course.
Like Adele would sing a song written by Bruno Mars. That's all I ask. Like and Bruno Mars.
It's normal. It's normal, right? It's not like
exactly.
So I think that point you mentioned is very important. Like you should embrace your strengths, be humble enough to acknowledge your weaknesses, and I love Yuli's energy. The energy she brings.
Yes.
In the music video, it just pops out. Like you can you get that right. So performance is very important also.
Exactly.
Okay. I think I want to transition into sort of a little more like deeper issues and stray a little away from music. And like I said, there are a few sort of like sensitive topics that we're going to talk about. It varies. I'm just telling you also because like the next guest might have different topics and all, but these topics are like things that I want to bring to the forefront and like just let the audience who are going to be primarily Nagas hear what another fellow Naga has to say about a certain issue and topic, right? And so like we discussed, there are quite a few issues that you're also keen on talking about, which I feel are like, I like the points that you mentioned because these are ones that I feel are maybe not talked about enough. So let's get straight into it. I mean, like about the issue of divorce. It's I mean, it's common all around the world and all that, but in Nagaland, it's still looked upon as like very strongly, like that's how I feel.
Right.
So, what's your whole take on divorce in Nagaland and the issues with it?
I think to answer, just to clarify things also, to answer to these topics that we're going to cover, it is just my opinion at the end of the day. I'm not representing my community, my colony, or my tribe,
Please remember that,
yes.
everyone. Yes.
So, yes, I
Personal
just want to be very clear. For me, I would want to believe that people fall in love and people can fall out of love also. So divorce, I think, is a result of people maybe falling out of love, maybe because I don't think I've been in love, like with anyone. I can be in love with somebody for that long also. But of course, like people would say, like, if Christ is the center of your marriage, then everything works out and stuff like that. Yes, I believe in that also. On the other hand, if you are in an abusive relationship and those things, those situations are affecting your child, it is best that you, I think, step away, and then maybe before things because this will carry on for generations to come. The child may, when he grows up, may start doing the same stuff again. So I really would want people to step up and walk away. I would support anybody who feels that the marriage is not working and they want to get a divorce. Why not? Yeah, yeah.
But obviously, I mean, like, I totally get what you're saying, but it has to be also like that serious enough or a reason genuine enough, right? Because we see in the West, like, obviously that's just the Hollywood lifestyle and all, but we see those type of divorces which are like, it's not stemming from real love and marriage.
Yes,
And,
it
like,
never
commitment.
started like that
Yeah.
also. So maybe that's why they always have these issues very regularly. But in Nagaland also, I know that maybe some people, for the sake of their children, they're in the marriage, and
True.
yes. But I think if you really care for your children, sometimes you should also, I mean, save them from that stigma that they're going to carry for the rest of their life, and just walk away, because maybe at that point of time you may feel like your world is crumbling down, but you could be protecting your child more and protecting yourself.
I mean, that's a very brave thing to do if you're in that kind of situation. But we also have to be like realistic in one way and like understand, like, the society that we live in.
Exactly.
And
And this also the reason why maybe a lady, when they are stepping into marriage, maybe they should step into the marriage at least with a safety net. So if they have something to fall back to in case the marriage, of course, you should not go with that apprehension, but maybe you have education, you have a good support system. What if, because we never know what will come our way.
Yeah.
Because like for me, even in my musical career, sometimes like I would think that these people are the only people that I want to work with. But along the way, we have fallen apart. And of course, no grudges as such, but I don't think we're ever going to come back and work together again. But it was best that we parted ways. So
yeah, I mean, I do understand when it's a very serious issue, like maybe spousal abuse and stuff like that. And but I do understand why people also are not brave enough to step away from it because of, like I said earlier, the society that we're living in, and we are unfortunately very judgmental, and there's large sections of society that very looks down upon divorce, like very sternly, and they have a very strong opinion about it. So
right.
it is a very, I guess, a sensitive issue in Nagaland still.
And this is exactly why, like all the topics we're going to cover, like starting with this, we should talk about these things like more openly, so that people don't think that they are like a misfit in society just because they walk out of the marriage. For me, sometimes I'm like, hats off to the lady for leaving that guy. I'm like happy because I would know of how much they suffered staying in that marriage. So yeah, and I mean it can be the other way around also. It's not always the guy.
The guy
at
was
fault.
beating. Yeah.
I've also like just heard like a story, I think a month back, where I think this husband is in a very abusive relationship. The wife would like hate him like black and blue. So things, and I hope they're going for counseling. And now touching that topic again, we need more trained people to handle such issues.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I agree with you on that. That like professionals, I think it's very rare to hear of like couples going for counseling. I mean, besides the usual one that you have to do compulsory with the church because before you get married and all that, but like real, I'm talking about like post marriage, like after you're married, and if you're having any issues, it's very rare. I mean, I hardly hear of any Naga couples going for counseling.
Yes, I mean we definitely know the importance of prayer in our life.
Yeah.
Like for me, I've personally gone through times when I just didn't want to pray. I forgot how to pray because of the anger, or maybe because of the struggle that I was going through. At that time, maybe talking to a friend would help me more.
Definitely.
Yes. So God can use different things and people and situations to speak to you. It's not always like you kneeling down, bowing down your head and praying. Of course, that should also be there, but like I said, we need a professional help. pastor is not your counselor, your psychiatrist. I mean, they can be, of course,
in their
also,
own way,
in their
definitely
own
there.
way.
Yes.
But sometimes you need professional help.
Professionals
Yeah.
were like, yes, I totally agree with you on that one. What about like, I mean, uh, we touched on it a little bit, but like another topic that we were just discussing about yesterday briefly was like spousal abuse also.
Right.
This is something that, like divorce, and okay, before I get into this, I just want to make it very clear again that like how Nise also said, this is something that's coming from his personal point of view, like his perspective on that issue or this issue, and we know that some people have, like, you have strong opinions on something, I have like really strong opinions on something, and sometimes we do tend to get like offended or like
Yes.
get sensitive when people like go against that opinion or something. So
Right.
we just ask you to all keep like an open mind and like respect each other's opinion. I think the whole point of doing this talk, the sensitive issues and
Right.
things that need to be addressed that are only being addressed behind closed doors or like
Yes.
with in the privacy of your home. I think we should start normalizing doing this publicly also. And like as long as we're being sensible and um, trying to approach it from a positive way and constructive way,
Yeah.
it's fine talking about any issue, whatever it may be, right? So yeah, coming back to spousal abuse, you mentioned that incident, right? About the husband. Recently, we
Yes.
heard the story, and I've known of some relationships where there's been spousal abuse. I'm sure you know of some also others, and this is something that's I think very hardly spoken about. It's been I don't know how either the guy or the male or the female in that relationship would find it easy to bring this topic. Who would you bring it to? Like your parents or your friends, and like how would you go about it? Like I find it very difficult to understand the situation that
Yes.
they're in.
I am not too sure how many of you would be aware that there are at least there's like organizations who actually deal with such issues. Like I am part of Niklat Ministry, so
Okay.
they go and rescue abused women. People who are forced into flash trade or who have been like abandoned by their family and all those. So Niklat Ministry is there, and my is there, and my friend Vikali Jimomi, she also had this women, I think We for Women or something like
Okay,
that.
okay.
Like they have a helpline also. So people should know these things, and maybe I would also hope to read this maybe in our daily newspapers also, where they can always keep giving these helpline numbers,
Right.
not just for fire and other emergencies,
Exactly,
but even
exactly.
for, or maybe there are, I don't know, because
No, I think it should be out more because
yes,
I mean I haven't heard about
You
it.
haven't
I mean,
heard about
Miklat,
it.
obviously, I've heard about
Yes.
that, but your friend's foundation or that
because we
organization.
also have this like a fear that if I tell this person, what if it starts to spread, so there's always this fear, but it's easier said than done when I say like you have to rise above your fears, because I haven't been in that situation, so I won't really know how to handle also. But I think the easiest for me would be to have these numbers out in the open for people to see and know that their problems are just a call away.
You know what? Like, my take on this is like, um, why people are sort of afraid to come out in the open, whether it's to disclose to a psychologist, psychiatrist, or even to ministries like Miklat. It's big. I mean, this is my personal opinion, like I said, obviously, but the root problem to be like the society and the way it judges and thinks, and I find that to be the root problem of like I think I really feel like it's time we start changing our mindset about a lot of things, and everyone will not agree on everything, but we have to be a little more open-minded about many issues, I think.
Yes. I mean, while you were saying that, something started ringing, and let me also bring this from my musician's perspective again. We live in a very polite culture. We have been raised again. I mean, I do value all the principles that we have, the cultural values that we have, traditional values, like respecting your elders, and which is beautiful to have. Along the way, I've also seen like since we live in such a polite culture where our opinions sometimes, maybe our emotions are not allowed to be freely expressed, you know. So this has, in fact, I've seen this in my students also. Like when I'm asking them to express a piece, either it is very dry, or it is also something like they are just sort of copy pasting the emotion, you know. It's not natural, and I think this is also again like our upbringing and society. You can never argue with an elder again, you know. Like maybe I'm contradicting to what I said earlier, but even if you know you are right, you
Yeah,
or supposing
I understand
yeah,
what you're trying to say. That
exactly
yeah,
right. Supposing I don't even want to acknowledge certain family members' presence because of what I've heard, or maybe he has done to the family. But I still have to go and politely say hello, how, you know, all those stuff. So I think that has also affected. You know, we are always worried about the other person. I know we drifted about.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very complex issue, I think. But I mean, I feel it has to be talked about more. Like, it's good to hear other people's opinions. Sometimes it opens your eyes. Sometimes it makes you more vocal about that issue or whatever it may be. Whether you're for or against, it's always nice to respect other people's opinion. Let them have the freedom of, you know, their choice, belief, anything. So I like this conversation the way it's going. I'm excited to hearing, like, you know, you I know personally, so like I'm not surprised by most of the answers, but one thing that I want to get into is like this is this movement, this community is now around the world is being globally accepted on a very large scale, and in Nagaland, I don't think it's yet much existent, like the movement or the I don't know what you say, the community, but it's like the LGBTQ plus. I don't want to mess this up. I get this wrong all the time. But LGBTQ plus community. I mean, thank you. Yes. All right, shout out.
Yes.
Have to do a little branding for our podcast. But yeah, going back to our this topic about the LGBTQ plus community. What is I have a lot of opinion on it also, but like, what is your general thoughts, opinion, your take on it, just like generally, like, what do you think?
I think my answer to this, not that it's like an interview or question answer, but I think my take on this would be to love is rewarding, and to be loved is empowering. You know, and I'll repeat that again. To love someone is rewarding, and to be loved by someone is empowering, you know. And I think everyone should be given the freedom to love anything in anyone in any way. That's my, I think, simple take. And of course, like if you really look, I mean, there's this verse in First Peter 4:8 where it says like, love one another without grumbling, because love covers over a multitude of sins. This is First Peter 4:8, and I think that verse is beautiful. Love covers over a multitude of sins, and I'm not trying to misinterpret this. And this is where I will take all of you again. Definitely, people would say that it's clearly written that it's a sin to love someone, you know, from your same sex. Having said that, nobody, I think, has the power to comprehend God's grace and love, you know, in the fullest form. God can love the most wretched sinner like you and I also, you know. So I think best is for God to judge instead of people or community or family, you know, to be judging such things or such kind of people. God's grace, I think, is something that we can't comprehend. So
that's quite deep actually. To be honest, that's quite deep because like I don't I tread very carefully on this subject. Not because I want to be politically correct or anything, not like that, but it's because I do have friends and a lot of people that I know who are from this community. So, like, my thing is like I respect everyone's decision, whatever it may be. I respect that. one, I mean, I just want your opinion on this, okay? Because I'm
Mm.
sure you've seen it going around a little bit. Is like my thing about this is that about the movement. Okay, it's like um, it's supposed to be about equality, getting equal rights, and all that, but it's slowly turning not the whole movement, but there's this toxic part of the movement, right? Like
Right, like
where
the
they're trying to
woke and all.
yeah, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
trying to force it on us. Like
Yes, yes.
you can't call. I mean, like, I don't want to go into details, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like they're trying to force their opinions on us.
Right.
Like I don't want to force my opinion on you. I respect your right to believe in this or choose this. I want you to respect mine also. So what's your take on this? Because we're seeing a lot of this. Maybe not in Nagaland, like I said, the community is not such like it's the stature is there, but like globally we're seeing it. So
I
what's
think,
your opinion?
yes, I
on
think
that?
the very fact that they are fighting for equal rights or they're forcing their beliefs, their principles onto someone, it shows that they are the ones who have accepted defeat in a way, you know? Yeah, because for me, I would never, I mean, if I have to fight that, I know that I'm already good at it and I will make sure that I'm fighting for it. But I don't know how exactly to put it, but I've also read somewhere like people they were celebrating a particular day. Yeah, I won't really mention. And somebody wrote like the fact that you are already celebrating this day clearly shows that you are a lesser human being.
Right,
You know. So I think that is something that we have to think about also. Of course, if it's really not, if you're really due to get that kind of respect and you're not getting, that is something else. But I think to be really coming up like in such a what do you call forceful manner, I think it kills the purpose.
Yeah, the whole it feels very hypocritical also at the same time, right? We're getting quite deep.
Yes, we are.
But I mean, like I said, I like these type of conversations, and one thing that I think I want the audience to know, and also I want to know because this is something that I've known you your whole life. I mean, my whole life, and we've talked about so many things. But this is one thing that I actually think we haven't actually properly talked about, which is about politics
Okay.
and your thoughts and opinion, whether you support any political party, whether you're secretly working for it. I just want to just talk to you about politics and what's Nise's, take on politics, and I mean, especially with Nagaland, in relation
Right.
to Nagaland now.
Uh, I do know what is happening actually,
Yeah.
but it's just that, say, example, when it comes to social media, or for that matter, even if when I'm out with my friends or with family, I don't really discuss this topic. Not because I am trying to play it safe, but like I said, when it goes to my social media, I want to use that space to share positive things, to share happiness. With everybody supporting, there's like a crisis going on, everyone is talking about it. So I'm like, why can't I talk about something beautiful that is that we still see around, you know?
Being positive.
Yeah, being positive. So for me, I've always used my social media like domain in a very, I think, entertaining, interesting, and very forward kind of perspective. So when you talk about Nagaland politics, I may not know everything, but I think to a large extent I know what is going on. So for me, I think it will be as simple as people who are in power, they should have the right balance of serving and leading people. I think right now we are so into the leading that they're always leading, but there should be a marriage between the serve and then the lead part. Then I think that we will get a true politician. And on the other hand, I think people who are, say, holding a portfolio, I would actually question like how well do they know the portfolio that I carry? Like for just to give my example, if I were to lead like a football team today, I have no idea. But supposing I have to do it, I will make sure that I study the rules and regulation of, how a league is done, how people should do their training.
And get right people around you.
But I think in a way it's a little bit random if I may use the word, or maybe the politician will attack me also, but it's a very honest thing. So that is, I think, where we sometimes see drawbacks happening, because the person holding that portfolio may not be right for that department, So
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally understand that. But like, there are only so many choices. Whoever's elected are from the lot, from the ruling party, the majority. Whoever's been elected by the people
right.
are the only choices the chief minister will have to allot, this portfolio to and that portfolio to. So, yeah, but I guess what you're saying is,
but I think more than, I don't know. Okay, I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but I just think that more than doing like a research on their background or their qualification, maybe it's more about equally distributing the portfolios from every constituency, or from
yeah, those politics
maybe
exist.
trying to
I mean, like everyone knows about like how that
Yes.
exists. Yes.
So maybe try when they're while they're trying to fulfill that thing, maybe
The real
the
purpose gets lost.
exactly. Yes, and the other thing is, I think if a politician can have like a humble personality, at the same time somebody with power. So it has to be a mixture. Humble because, so that they are open to ideas, they are open
Criticism.
to people, like telling them stuff that they are not doing it right. At the same time, when I say power, I want to be proud to call this person
your
that
leader,
he's my
yeah.
leader, he's like representing my state,
Yes.
like that. So those things are really important, I think, when it comes to politics. I mean, other than development and stuff like that, maybe everybody is doing their best. Yeah. I would want to believe that they are doing their best.
Would you like ever consider like getting into politics if the opportunity presented itself? Would you ever consider getting into mainstream politics? I'm talking about like at being in the forefront, like contesting elections and stuff.
If I can, I would say yes, if I can choose my team. Get my point? The people that I want are in the cabinet or are in the ministry. Otherwise, just me being alone and trying to swim against the tide, I think it will be too much, and I may just lose my focus.
Yeah, I think that's something that happens quite often. I mean, I believe there's a lot of wrong also with the system, and it's like not so much to do with the individuals, but like the system as a whole. And like how you're saying, I totally get what you're saying. Like if you try to go in there yourself, you're elected as an MLA, and you're up against the whole system. It's hard to change everything by yourself.
Yes, and maybe the system is not even bad. You know what I mean? But it's just that it may differ from the way I would want to see things function. You see, so maybe one can also maybe refresh the manual book that our politicians have been following. Maybe some.
It's very hard to break tradition. No?
That's also there. So I see a lot of young people now taking part.
Yes.
So I hope that they will start, influencing the system in a good way.
Right. I think that's very important. Like you just said it, but like a lot of people who are vocal about politics, people who are just passive about it also, right? Like one thing they keep saying is like we need young people, and like I totally agree on that. But we do need a balance also. Like this is what I feel like: young people, senior, experienced people.
Yes.
We need a mix of both. Just having young people is not going to change, like the whole. But definitely having an injection of youth into the. That is also it's changing. Don't you think? Like it's, I won't say taboo, but like it's frowned upon, right? When you see like a young person leading your village or constituency, it is hard for a lot of people to swallow. Like when you a younger person to
yes,
lead.
because
Because
they are the
like, we talked about culture and our
right.
identity of how we respect elders and all this
That's
stuff.
what. I think for that matter, like even when we talk about the bureaucracy, how it's going on now, we see a lot of young officers, like who's like maybe the SDO or the ADC of a district, right? So, and they are the ones calling the shot. So I don't know how the village elders would react to that. So I think these are some interesting things that I want to actually discover. I want to be a bit nosy, and like sometimes
I'll get into that with some guests that who are like,
because they always have to find that balance between the way they want to, their values of how they want to function and what the villagers would want.
Right. I think that's something that people will have to admit it exists. Like it's a little uncomfortable for a youngster to be an elder person. It's just like it's unnatural also a little bit. So like people are a little wary about it, especially the elder community. But it's nice to see that we are seeing like the youth coming up, whether it's in the general elections, like in our legislative assembly, or in any other fields. It's interesting.
Yes, but again, just for the record, I am hardly in touch with any politician actually myself. Yes, it's not that. Some people may even be thinking that I get a lot of advantages because of where I am in my music career,
Right.
and people are always favoring me and stuff like that. Actually, I don't have any. Yes, I mean, whenever I meet, I have my due respect for them. I'm very cordial. I always politely acknowledge anyone, but none of my shows, for that matter, or any awards have been like done through a political connection.
Yeah,
I'm
mean,
very proud of that. To be very honest,
I can confidently like vouch for that. But yeah, I guess it's natural when because of your achievements and your recognitions and all that, all the big shots know you also personally. So when people see you talking with this person or that person so comfortably, people naturally tend to think like, "Yeah, I'm sure," then the usual gossip mill, like
right, yes.
he's getting
And
this out of that.
I know, like sometimes, like whenever there are, say, big shows happening, maybe outside the state or the country, like I'm asked to represent. But I want to believe that I am good in what I do. That's why I think whoever is given that in charge to select the musicians, they're also confident to place me on that platform because they know that I will do a good job. So this is where I also want to encourage maybe people who are like starting out now to be able to fight for that spot. It should not readily come to you, like on a platter. You have to find that spot and fight for that spot so that you would be able to enjoy that victory more. Yeah, say example, if we talk about folk fusion, I think even if that's your sisters for the next 10 years, they keep on representing Nagaland, I'm still okay.
I'm fine with that too.
Not okay. I would support them unless there's another group who can do better than them in folk fusion. Then I think it has to be that.
No, this is like we're coming full circle again back to the music thing, but I definitely want to like put my 2 cents in on this also. It's like a lot of the time I've heard people complaining about like it's always the same faces, it's always this, it's always that, and my take on this is that obviously they deserve to be given that chance, and they deserve the spot. That's why they're getting it. And one example is like like how Tafma organized recently. I mean, not recently, but a couple years back, workshops for all musicians. It's open. You can just register and join. Like workshops on business of music, workshops on different things. They got like resource persons from Mumbai. This like very qualified educational people we can learn so much from. And you see just a handful of musicians there. And surprise, surprise, who do you see? It's the same old people because they're the ones who are willing to learn, come for this, be humble enough to register for this event, come and learn. Even though you're so successful, you can still come and learn. It's like learning is a lifetime process, right? Like you learn, keep learning. And
to add to that, Asalie, I remember like one time we were going to have this handshake concert. I think that we were going to Myanmar or China somewhere. So because of like people complaining that the same people are representing Nagaland all the time. They did like an open invitation, like an audition. Okay, I went to Kohima. Of course, I was going as an individual, but they're also looking for a group also like that, you know. And of course, solo artists, any good product, for let's say. We went all the way to Kohima for an audition, you know, and I was surprised to see hardly like 6, 7 people in that audition, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's
I've
it's
heard
simple
a
as
lot
that.
of stories about. I mean, I know firsthand on like about the very poor responses when it comes to auditions and stuff. So just trying to encourage. I think my thing would be to like try and encourage musicians and artists to feel comfortable enough to submit, you know, like an audition tape or like to go for an audition and just perform. And I think that we need a little more of that. Like,
Right. I think maybe one suggestion, maybe for some time, what we, I mean, Tafma can also do. I'm sure they would watch this podcast.
are you making a pitch?
Yeah. So it's like maybe for a while, of course, some musicians, maybe for an event or maybe a function, whatever uh, be it, some artists they would definitely handpick because maybe they know for sure they want this artist to be part of that
Right.
performance, right? Other than that, maybe if they have like 3, 4 slots, they can keep doing just audition. So that way, nobody will have anything to say against, you know, like the artist. And if that person is like good enough, then they are part of that concert, you know. And it's always a paid show for that matter, you know. Let it be big or small amount. Yeah. I want to get into the payment thing now, like where people are complaining about
Yeah.
how people like.
Let's get straight into it. Let's
yes,
get, like,
yes.
I mean,
So I've also like come across a lot of people. They do shows, okay, like random shows. Let me just say it, yeah, random shows. Maybe some cafes here and there. I mean, those are good shows, but I also get to know how much they get paid in shows like that. Sometimes nothing also, and I know some of
a
their
lot of the time.
yeah, most of the time they are not getting anything paid. So sometimes for maybe my weddings, I don't really do concerts in Nagaland. So for weddings, when I approach this artist, they start acting so pricey. Just because I call them, they expect good payment, you know. And I'm like, I know you do shows for free or where you just get paid almost nothing, and you start demanding whenever I approach you. So this is also something that I want to just say it out loud.
You're gonna put it out there that
Yes.
the harsh truth, but
And the other thing is, supposing I am going to Mumbai for a concert, I will not take a risk with a new singer. Even for me, if I'm going to Delhi or Bombay, I would make sure I only take my proteges, people that I've groomed, you know, and
and
they
you're
have
confident
worked
and
hard.
yeah.
Because I know if I code say 50,000 for them, I know that they will deliver it. They will, like I said, they will talk like they are worth 50,000, act, dress, you know, everything.
like
Yes,
the 50.
because that is so important. You are a brand at the end of the day, you know. So see, it's like an LV bag and maybe a tote bag that you buy online. They can carry the same items inside their bag. Sometimes designer bags are like very small also, but people will still pay so much for that brand. You see, so it's like that. You have to really work on the branding, and the branding is not only practicing singing. There's so many aspects. Like what you're doing now with Infinity Next, you know, that is something that is what do you call wonderful, because you are not just touching their music part, but like from grooming to
Yeah, I
you know.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I believe, because I just want to plug in my own company's Infinity Next program. But like we discussed earlier, I believe to be a successful artist, you need to be well rounded. Like there's so many aspects. Like having a beautiful, wonderful voice is not enough.
Right.
You need to be um, well versed in the business of music. You need to know like the art of performance. You need to be in touch with like fashion and styling. There's so many aspects. So that's what we're trying to do with Infinity Next, and I feel it's like very important to be a well-rounded
Yes.
wholesome artists instead
Yes.
of
And also to be in touch with the right people. I think that's very important. Of course,
yeah, like you mentioned, the mentor thing is. I
Yeah.
think that's a very
To
unique
be
thing.
yes, that's one thing. And just say socially also be in touch with the right people. Like I said, I know of people who have like say 20K followers, 30K followers. But I wonder from amongst their followers if anyone can organize a show for them or get a show for them in Delhi or Bombay also, you know.
Or how many of them would buy a T-shirt that they produce?
That's also there. So for that is something that I really want people to realize that it is better
Yeah.
to
Don't fall into the trap of the numbers of social
yeah.
media.
Nothing wrong as long because they are getting to also reach out to a large number of people. For me, I just reach out to few,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, I think it's the perfect way to end this conversation. I don't know how long we've been going, quite a while, but like to come full circle back to music and stuff like that. I just want to end it on this question that I actually sort of proposed this to you. I asked you about it, and like I want to come back to it again. No, it's not going to be a new pitch, but like, why does Nise not have his own music school? Do you remember? I long time back we discussed about like
Right.
what like we should do this like like why don't you?
I am somebody who likes to keep evolving, as you know, and of course, even if I have a school, I can still do other stuff. But I think my interest doesn't really lie in building a school, and that doesn't stop me from mentoring, you know, or training young people also. I can still do that in my own capacity. Like right now, it's online.
The
I can
online.
still be part of maybe a school like Musica or you know Hope Center, and still So I think it's not in me to build a school, run a school, you know, and to have my name out there as like Nise Meruno School of Music. I think that is not me. Like I don't have a website also. You know, I don't even have a YouTube channel. And going back to what I said about networking, but I think I'm good in networking, you know, and I can deal with people, and uh, and and I'm able to stay in touch with people. So that's how I think my career is still like growing. And of course, after being labeled as Yamaha Artist, Yamaha they started playing a huge role in my career as well, you know. And before Yamaha, I was with AKG also as a brand ambassador. So these things all helped me again to sort of revamp my career. Yeah, and I think I see myself like going from strength to strength for a long time still.
So okay. I mean, for me personally, I feel like it's a loss because like our friend Alobo,
Yes, yes.
who's doing like a great job with his
Right.
music.
He's good at it. You
No,
know?
he's good at it, but the
Yes.
thing is like it's his branding is good. People trust the Alobo brand, like they recognize it, and then that's why his school is doing good. So like he's doing a good job of it. I felt like you could have done the same. Although you're saying that that's not your like your passion or thinking how you want to do it. I just feel like that like anyway.
I don't think it will prosper also unless my heart is totally into it again. You know, maybe I'm
it'll
sure.
prosper,
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like you want to be in it like
Yeah.
wholeheartedly, right? So let's wrap it up with first I want to ask you, like now that we've heard about so many things and like we found out about your personal life, your thoughts and opinions on so many different subjects and topics and issues. Where do we see Nise and in the future, in 5 years, 10 years time? Like where do you see yourself in the future? Near, far? Have you thought about this? Like
Yes, I will continue my solo career for sure. And Yama and I, we have a very good relationship that will also keep on going, I believe. So that will continue. Other than that, and of course, other than me teaching, and I'm glad in a way that I'm now in a position where I can afford to give time to people. You know, when things were okay, I would be traveling almost every
hectic,
2 weeks,
very
you know,
hectic, right? Yeah.
and that is I want to believe that it's going to come back. That's what I'm saying. It's still my career. That's my main thing to travel, do concert. So for me, I want to be able to share this gift of music with people who are willing to learn and people who are willing to come under my wings. And be it a group, maybe a boy band, a girl band, a choir, whatever, or maybe solo artist. I want to uh, maybe make a good production and travel. So that is my
That's a
goal,
very
yeah.
interesting plan.
And maybe in that production, it can be a Naga musical. It can be maybe.
Let's talk about this more.
We can do it with your artist. We can do it with your artist. With
light bulbs going off right
yeah.
now, but
So something like that. I
yeah,
want to
yeah,
like do a show because see, for me, it's also like this. Of course, I thank each and everyone who always would invite me to be part of their production or their show, but it's always someone else's production.
and not your own, right?
Yeah, so that's the reason why I was very happy to do a show with Nukai Khate. Like about 2 years back, we had this reverie in Kohima and Dimapur also, where I had the creative license to design the show along with him. You know, so I want to do things like that. So I know exactly the kind of lighting that I want, the costumes, the stage props, the songs, the artists.
Wasn't that emotive?
The emotive string was there, but
Oh.
other than emotive strings, actually wasn't my brainchild. You see,
Oh,
so I
that was
wanted
his. That was his.
yes,
Reverie was
yes.
okay.
So we named it reverie. Yeah, and reverie is such a beautiful word. So let's keep dreaming. You know.
Dare to dream, dream big, but remember that you have to work hard for it too, right? You can't just
I
be
know.
dreaming and
Yeah.
So the way we end this whole podcast is I have this last small segment called the message, and what we do here is I ask the guest to give 3 messages. The first message to your friends and family. You can like name people, or you can just let it be a general message. The second message is to maybe someone you've lost along the way, a friend, a classmate that you were close with that you can't find them on social media or whatever it may be, someone you've lost touch with. And then the third message is just a message to the Nagas in general. Take your time and we're going to sign off on that.
Okay, the first one. I really feel blessed to be part of such a wonderful family. A family that is so open, that is so gracious, supportive. And I can say this because I can be myself. And I feel like so safe and secure to just be myself, to speak the things that I want to, and to maybe dress the way I want to dress, everything. I never felt like I was like a misfit as far as the family is concerned. And I really want to thank the family, you definitely included, because that has really made me how do you call fortify my foundation. And because of that, today I feel I am unshaken, and I am fearless.
Beautiful.
Yes. So I really want to thank my family. And when I say my family, my Meruno side, my Peseyie side,
Extended family,
everybody. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I think I can only put it in that simple manner. And yeah. And to the second one, to my friends whom I've lost contact along the way, I want you to know that maybe I must have done that because I tried to protect myself also while growing up. Maybe sometimes the things that you would say to me behind my back, or the way you treated me, made me feel lesser of a human being, and maybe I tried to stay away. But now I want you to know that I am a much happier person. Of course, I was always happy, but now I'm a more confident person. I have more love to offer. Yeah, and I want you to be able to come and drink from my cup that is overflowing. So please get in touch with me on social media.
That's nice.
Yes. And to people in general, whatever you do, I think you do it with God on your side. I always say you may have all the talents in the world, work harder than anyone else in the world, but unless you have God on your side, you will never succeed. And a special reminder to the artist. I have this quote which says, "Your art can only be as beautiful as your heart." So let us try to carry and nurture a beautiful heart so our art becomes more beautiful because it is an extension of who we are. We cannot create something that doesn't belong to us. we have to just keep on searching for the treasures within us that is inside us. So you try and always nurture your heart, guard your heart with positive thoughts. Let beautiful, supportive people surround your heart, and I am sure that your life will prosper and you will have a wonderful career. And I also want to encourage each one of us to always be proud of our roots also. I am I used to be a person. I sorry, this message is becoming very long, but
No, no,
I
thank you.
used to be a little bit embarrassed of where I come from. And when I was in Delhi, maybe if people think that I'm from Singapore or Philippines, I would just leave it at that. But now I'm after coming back and after all these years, I am so proud to be who I am, my identity, my roots. And if they say like the stronger the root, the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. So I think art imitates life. So just like that, let us always be proud of our roots so that our tree will be unshaken and yes, and we will keep on bearing fruit and our branches will keep on extending so we can shelter more people under our shade. So that's from me to you. Thank you.
Lovely message. I mean, I wasn't. I was expecting a very moving message as usual because you're very well spoken and eloquent. But very nice message. Just gonna wrap up by thanking a few people. This is the first episode, so I have to shout out a few people. Um, my partner who's behind the lens is Ashemo, so shout out to him. And the intro video that we had is done by Ikato. You can check him out on Instagram. The links will be given. He made this very cool animation, and the music was provided by DJ Ina. The simple set, although it's not that much, is done by my sister's company, Quirky, Qrafts, Ashemo, and Cebu, and all of them. So thanks everyone. If I'm forgetting anyone, please forgive me. But there's one thing I'd like for you guys to do, and that is like, please in the comment section just um, suggest names of people you'd like to have on the show, and also like about topics or issues that you'd like to hear us talk about. And I'm definitely going through all of them. Can't guarantee that I can accomplish all of them, but I'll be looking through all of them. And yeah, first episode of Shout Out Podcast, and that's a wrap.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Good job. Thank you.